Okay, please stop using pro and con lists for your life decisions. Um, yeah, let's talk about being decisive. So I heard that somebody who I won't name by name, but they just made a video about being decisive, and I just heard about it, didn't watch it, but I heard that it contains a lot about making pro and con lists and how to become more decisive by making lists and stuff, and it's just not going to work. So here's why I can speak on this topic, or like why I felt inspired to, because I haven't been making any videos for the past few months. But this is something I felt like talking about now. So, um, yeah, I used to be very indecisive. I used to have trouble making life decisions, or like decisions with any sort of bigger significance, like bigger than, um, what do I have for breakfast, basically. If it's like involving like the path of life which I choose, which job do I apply to, what do I study, where do I live, I used to be indecisive. I used to not figure it out. It used to give me tons of anxiety. I used to procrastinate on those decisions until it was almost too late, and then sort of like panic decide. Still making like a huge pro and con list about all the different options, sometimes spanning multiple sheets of paper, entire folders. Yeah, man, I don't still have it. Oh, spider, okay. Um, um, yeah, and it just doesn't go well. Like, I just made terrible decisions after months of torturing myself with huge maps and directories and folders and lists. If you are a person who makes decisions through pro and con lists, it's not going to go well. Please stop doing that, and I'll explain why. Basically, I'm decisive now because I accept the fact that not everything has to be decided right now. So, yeah, the main insight is that before there used to be some idea, some belief that I need to decide everything. Like things that I'm not sure about, that's not okay. I need to be sure about them. Because being not sure about what is the right path or what is the right decision is like bad in some way, which is not true. And that gives me a lot of just like lingering in the not knowing would make me very uncomfortable. Like gives me a lot of anxiety, feelings of insecurity, I guess. Like there's a sense of not being secure when I don't know, which is very deep rooted, and many people have that. Most of us do. So, if you feel like you need to know, then you're going to try to force yourself on deciding stuff that you're not ready to decide about, which is bad. Like that's a world of pain. You don't really want to. It's gonna push you to like get super in your head, get super anxious, obsess, not be able to sleep, go back and forth, talk to tons of people, talk to family, talk to parents, talk to friends, again and again and again. And it's like that might just well be because you're not ready to decide, and you just don't know, and you don't know that it's okay to not know. So that's the first point that I would like to make about being decisive. Is like just the fact that you're asking the question of how to be decisive might mean that you haven't learned how to accept unmade decisions. Uncertainty, I don't know yet, is actually fine. Okay, so having accepted the fact that not having made a decision about something is okay, in fact, it's a natural state because there's infinite things that you could think about that you could make a decision about at some point, I guess. But, like, okay, not yet. So the thing is, if you don't feel clear, that's kind of my second point. If you don't feel clear, then it's a no or a not yet, which kind of boils down to the same thing. in the moment. It's like, no. So do I want to go to university to study this or to study that? I don't know. So I don't go. But society expects me to. Yeah, fuck them. But my parents expect. Yeah, fuck them. But I won't be able to make my. Yeah, well, you'll survive. Okay. You'll waste much more energy on the wrong decisions than you'll waste on. Well, let me rephrase that. So you'll waste much more energy on like premature, forced decisions made from the wrong place, like made from being in your head, being anxious, feeling like you have to force yourself. Like that's a giant drain on your energy, because it's really difficult to get out of that as well. Like once you've chosen a path for what you think are good reasons, but something doesn't feel right about it, you're gonna have this low level of stress, and it could be years. It could be years before you realize that that wasn't the right thing after all, and you were just not ready to decide, which is also a problem with how society is setting you up these days, or for centuries, I guess. But it's like, yeah, you have to decide what trajectory to follow in high school before you figure out what you're even interested in. You have to decide to go to school before you figure out that you're curious about stuff, which is a big mistake in and of itself. And then you have to decide what job you want before you're even of age to even want, honestly, to do anything for other people. Like, it's so fucked up that we have to choose, like, oh, I want to become a doctor or a lawyer or a veterinarian. When you're a teenager, and teenagers are supposed to be selfish. They're not supposed to be helping other people unless it's something that they're naturally good at and interested in, which is very different from a job description, like especially in modern society. So as a teenager, you're supposed to be helping yourself and doing whatever is interesting. And if that doesn't, fit into anything that your environment expects from you, that's because your environment is wrong, not because you're wrong. Nice little caterpillar here, hiding in the grass. Okay, so point one was that don't force yourself to make a decision. If you're not sure, it's a no, or it's a no for now. And that's okay. Learn to accept that. Point two is that you don't need to think. Think about that. If there's a question on your mind and you allow it to remain there as a question that is unanswered, and you don't go into obsessing because you feel so tortured about the not knowing. So, like, you don't obsessively gather information, you don't obsessively call friends and family, you don't obsessively browse the web, you don't obsessively not sleep. You don't do any of that stuff. It's just like, this is an open question. Then at some point, you will wake up with the answer. So you don't have to think. You don't have to think, you just have to wait until you know. Which is how I make my decisions now. And it works. It works. I have many problems to solve. I'm trying to start a business. It involves many complicated decisions. And I don't make pro and con lists. I don't. I'm just like, okay, here's a question. Let me sleep on it. Sometimes for a day, sometimes for a month. And at some point, I will just know. And when you know, you know. And then you just do that. And then you don't overthink it. Okay, so then it's like you just wait until you're clear about something. And wait until you're clear. And when you're clear, you know. That's all you have to do. Okay, but what if you don't ever get clear? Well, then it's a no. That's a simple answer. But also, it could be that you do get clear and then you start doubting. That's also very common. So, myself, I will have like moments of clarity and inspiration, and then other moments of like, oh no, can't. How am I ever going to? I can't do that. Oh my god, so scary. That's not me. Whatever. Right. So then, yeah, you want to sort of like notice: am I in a moment of clarity and expansiveness, or am I in a moment of where I feel small, insecure, not capable, etc. So, how expansive is your consciousness, if you want to call it that, right? And if it's not, if you feel scared, if you feel small, powerless, then forget about making a decision. You're not going to make the right one anyways, and you wouldn't recognize the right one if you saw it. So then focus on getting to a more expansive state. How do you do that? Well, you know. I mean, I hope. Now the caterpillar's on me. Yeah. So what works for you? Don't make decisions from feeling scared, overwhelmed, small, powerless. We all feel like that sometimes. You don't make good decisions from that place, so don't even try. Don't make lists from that place. Not gonna work. Not gonna work. Get to a better state. Get to a better state. What can you do? You can go into nature. You can go on a retreat. You can take vacation. You can do things in your house. You can do yoga. You can do breath work. Breath work works amazingly. So if you don't have a standard thing to do to get into like a more clear state, then try breath work. But if you have something else, like going for a swim, just do that. Don't let me tell you how to live your life. Just know that there will be several things that you can always do to get to a state of more clarity, and that might involve getting outside of your regular environment. That might involve alone time, or if you're more extroverted, it might involve time with other people. So just depends on how you're wired. But yeah, sometimes when you're with the right people, you will feel clear about something or things in general. So then seek that, right? Yeah, or you need to sometimes go out of your regular environment, like outside of the reach of your regular colleagues, friends, family, parents. And then you might run into, okay, I felt clear and now I don't, which is, yeah, highly probable. And there's no like real hack around that. It's just gonna happen. But you want to record the moments where you do feel clarity, and then put reminders around yourself, like write quotes on your mirror, write, print pictures, vision board stuff. Yeah, just find moments of clarity, then see, am I ready to decide on this or am I not? If I'm not, that's okay too. Stop needing to know everything, have a plan for everything. Just trust that at some point you will be clear. And only that will happen more in moments where you're in a good state. So when you're in a good state, you want to save that. sort of like Control S, right? Just save this game. So put reminders around yourself, post-its, vision board, print pictures, hang them on your wall, desktop wallpaper, phone, screensaver, whatever. All of that will help a little bit, but you'll still doubt the decisions you make from an expansive state because that's scary to your non-expansive self. And that's just the way it is. There's also an element of like, now that I know that my expansive self, who believes in my ability to do what I want with my life, and yeah, it's scary to believe in that when you're not in that. But there's also an element of just do what you plan to do. If you can trust that state, and now you're not in that, just follow through. So state awareness, I guess, is important. It's like when you're in a very doubtful, insecure, small state, just try to follow up on what the big you wanted as much as you can. And don't start to make lists or second guess yourself or overthink. I mean, sometimes you can't help but overthink, but just know that it doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. You're not gonna be certain. You're not gonna figure everything out perfectly and then feel secure. It's just not gonna happen. Yeah. And then to be in a clear state more often, and doubting yourself less, you do therapy. Because self-doubt comes from being split into different parts of the self. And those different parts of the self get split by childhood trauma. It's a survival mechanism. And then you flip-flop between different parts that feel different ways, so you're kind of different people in one, which means that you're never gonna feel completely consistent until you resolve your childhood trauma completely. That doesn't mean you can't live a life and make good decisions and be happy most of the time. But yeah, if you find yourself doubting yourself so much that it becomes difficult to make any sort of decision or stick to it, then consider doing a therapy that helps you resolve childhood trauma, because that's why. And I'm doing that currently, and it's making it better. I'm making much better decisions. I feel much more expansive and able to like live my life independent from ideas and stories and expectations. So there you have it. And if that doesn't work, go for a swim in a river. Okay, guys? I'll see you when I see you.